Before we take a step further, let's figure it out. Either you're pimping or you're simping. Either you're macking or you're lacking, baby. Either you're playing or you're getting played. Casanova. Tell them one time for you.
What we doing? Acting, baby. Curl juice, I'm activated. All my bitches count on me. Let Kenny be your calculator. What you in? Groovy nigga. I lay in the pool of bitches. Take a nap. They can stay in the rain. I'm in my new edition. How you feel? Awesome nigga. Tell that hoe don't talk to niggas. Walk the walk and I get this shit shaking like a salt dispenser. Who you in? Casanova. Let them sip. I'm braggadocious. Niggas who be saying I taught them everything. I'm Master Roshi. I acquire flavor cause it's something that they never taught. They say, Kim, I thought you, bitch, you never thought. King Mackin, you ain't never seen slacking. Lean back, I'm clean, so before I sit and stress over this bitch, I eat a jean jacket. Don't need no doctor, I do pet smear on my bitches. Don't approach my hoe without funds, and let's get that clear on my bitches. I got different flavors, chocolate drop, vanilla. I could dip and glaze them. She stick to my side like she a beeper or a hip replacement. What we doing? Acting, baby. Curl juice, I'm activated. All my bitches count on me. Let Kenny be your calculator. What you in? Groovy nigga. I lay in the pool of bitches. Take a nap. They can stay in the rain. I'm in my new edition. How you feel? Awesome nigga. Tell that hoe don't talk to niggas. Walk the walk and I get this shit shaking like a salt dispenser. Who you in? Casanova. Let them sip. I'm braggadocious. Niggas who be saying I taught them everything. I'm Master Roshi. King, say the name. Magic baby, baby blame. Chase the chicken, then propose a toast and make it Raisin Canes. She said, do you know what I do to be yours? And have an assortment of hors d'oeuvres from charcuterie boards. Baby, I'm funky with no odor. Ho, I'm groovy with no movement. I got bitches moving glutes and throwing coochies just to prove it. I'm rolling with no motor. I got motives to be kosher, but I'm boasting. Got me gloating. Pop like Fofo with no host. Kick my feet and sip mimosa. Mac a bitch out Christian mingle. Tell a hoe don't interrupt me while I'm filing down my fingers. Bigger bitch, I shine like glisten gleam. Before you hug and kiss a king, I tell a hoe to wash your mouth with soap or use some Listerine. I can give you dick and things. She turn up like she picking greens. You either simp or be a pimp, so pick a team. Sprinkle seeds and make it happen. More sauce than a flavor packet. Tell a hoe before I break my nails, she better break her habits. Make them ask me, what we doing? Acting, baby. Curl juice, I'm activated. All my bitches count on me. Let Kenny be your calculator. What you in? Groovy nigga. I lay in the pool of bitches. Take a nap. They can stay in the rain. I'm in my new edition. How you feel? Awesome nigga. Tell that hoe don't talk to niggas. Walk the walk and I get this shit shaking like a salt dispenser. Who you in? Casanova. Let them sip. I'm braggadocious. Niggas who be saying I taught them everything. I'm Master Roshi. What we doing? What we doing? What we doing?
Right on, baby.
I said we macking
The
on.
question was posed, and for those who don't know exactly what's going on,
Right on.
we know exactly what we're doing.
I tell them right on. Right on.
We just expect that you know the same.
Good day, everyone. Good day, everyone. This has actually been, one of my favorite installments, with this channel, the God Amongst Men. Everything I say is pretty much, it all connects from the physical to the metaphysical, from, above to below, from in to out. It essentially is all the same. It's all connected. It's all interlocked. And, I came across someone that I definitely can touch and agree on as far as, his breakdown of the ism and, what I've basically been doing for the last 3 years. It's a beautiful piece by the late, great, Jimmy Starr. Maybe you'll get a better idea of it. Maybe it'll resonate with you stronger and, solidify certain things that I've already put into place. Blessings and peace to you, Dark Venus Empress. Shall we begin?
Ism concept of ism is metaphysical. It is metaphysical in the fact that it is divine. Divinity exists just beyond sight, just beyond touch, and just beyond the reasonable understanding of man. It's there, you know it's there, but you can't see it and you can't touch it.
So this is what I was referring to as the Magi, as the magician, as someone that's able to, um, you know, facilitate things from, his core thoughts and bring it into fruition. Just I said before, like Michael Jordan projected his thoughts on the court. Everybody else around him was just playing basketball. They were trying to figure out how to win. He already knew how to win the game. He just projected his thoughts that he knew.
God, such as ism. I view ism and divinity as one and the same. That being said, inside of a princess, if I can call it pimpdom, and if I can utilize, oftentimes I use the word P, I'm going to replace that with prince. So oftentimes inside of a princedom or pimpdom, women see their man as God. And because they see their man as God, they respond to him.
Remember I was talking about the law of influence, and remember before where I was, expounding on, having the power or having the ability to change a woman's God or to change her perspective or to change, anyone around you perspective. Essentially when you're a God amongst men, you can change the world. So it all starts with your world and changing the world around you. You change the perspectives, the law of influence.
Like he was God. If a P or if a prince is P'ing, he should be able to do anything that he believes that he can do because it's based, the whole concept of ism hinges on belief. I'd like to speak on Jesus of Nazareth for a moment. Jesus.
You have a belief to do something, but you also have sub beliefs that are counterintuitive. So it's kind of like the wheat and the tare. You're always going to have, the initial belief to do something. As they say, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. It's just like when, St. Peter was walking on water. He had the ability to walk in his consciousness, in a state of consciousness, but the fear set in, his sub beliefs, and he drowned in his emotions of fear.
Because he believed that he was the Son of God, because he believed he was a great prophet, he was able to do things that most other men were unable to do. Point of fact, Jesus placed eyeballs made out of mud and spittle in empty sockets. Jesus walked on water. Jesus raised the dead. Okay. Jesus fed 7,000 people out of a couple of fish and a few loaves of bread. Why and how was he able to do this? He was able to do this because he believed in mesmerization. The people were mesmerized. They all saw it. And they're still talking about it 2,100 years later. Ism functions in that same context. Because of your belief, you are able to do things that a typical man cannot do.
Now, it's belief versus entitlement. Now, don't get those two mixed up. There's a difference between having a belief in something or believing in yourself versus being entitled to something, because you're entitled to nothing in life. You get exactly what you can negotiate, and what you negotiate is based on what you deserve, based on what you believe. Now, the reason why it becomes entitlement, because people become frustrated because things don't really come to pass that they had in their mind, is because their the dominance of their sub beliefs, the dominance of the things that were counterproductive, ruled them essentially.
To be a prince of the game is to be divine. And again, inside of a whore's mind, her man is God on earth. So in the beginning, and understand that the concept of gain is divine, functions under the same process as anything else that's metaphysical. We're able to speak things into existence
What up, my Memphis brother? All heart, grit, and grind. Blessings and peace to you.
that we're not, but we're able to do this because we believe. The greater your belief, the greater your power. A little belief, a little power. A lot of belief, a lot of power. No belief, no power. A prince must believe that he is called and that he is sent.
Called, sent, appointed, anointed. Dunamis, power, the ability to do something. Knowing thyself is key. Knowledge of self. Knowledge of self is knowing your abilities, knowing what you are capable of doing and knowing what you're not capable of doing, knowing what you know and knowing what you don't know.
Does not believe it, he cannot receive it. He's just in the way. He just as soon get out of the way and let somebody get a hold of somebody else. Anyway, going back to the beginning. In the beginning, God created man. Now, when he created man out of the dust of the earth. But what is dust but dirt? And what is dirt but filth? Out of this filth, God, who most people believe is separated from society at large because he doesn't want to get dirty. Man is contaminated. But the truth of the issue is this, is that God himself got down in the dirt in order to make man out of the dirt. But when he made man was an inanimate object. There was no life in him. He was like a doll. And then the word of God blew the breath of God into the nostrils of man. And man became a living soul. Keep in mind, this is God, the creator. There's no way that God made man and did not get some dirt on him. That would be an impossibility. Anyway, knowing where we came from, you can see better where man is. For this reason, because you were made in the dirt, God could get with you no matter how far you fall in life and raise you up. Likewise, no matter how high you climb inside of society, he can reach out and touch you. God is the creator of all things seen and unseen. He knows the beginning of the story, the middle of the story, and the ending of the story. Why? Because it is he who made it. And understanding that it's God who made the story, and that God made man out of the dirt. Keep in mind where man was made. If you were made in the dirt, God could have had used anything in the universe to make man, but he chose dirt, knowing the beginning, the middle, and the ending of the story. Well, why would God do this? God is saying something. The ways of God are not the ways of mankind. While man might be caught up in religiosity, God is not caught up in religiosity. God is not a Baptist. He's not a Methodist. He's not a Catholic. He's not a Buddhist. He's not a Jew. God is God. God is spirit. For this reason, God does not care about physicality, but rather he cares about spirituality. So
God's a spirit, so when you worship him in spirit and truth. Essentially, is what the ism is when you're possessed by it, you adhere to it in spirit and in truth of the game.
in the book of Genesis, which is the first book of the Bible, in the 12th chapter, we come to Abraham. Now, Abraham is the father of Islam, Christianity, Judaism. And what most folks do not realize that during the time of Abraham, there was no Christianity. Christianity did not exist. Judaism didn't exist. And Islam didn't exist. Abraham and his father, Tara.
Shalom, Joshua Underwood. Shalom, brother.
And they wandered throughout the land. And in their wanderings, they did some things. According to scripture, God Almighty and two angels go to the camp of Abraham and have dinner. God tells Abraham to go south. South of Canaan was Egypt. Abraham goes south and he gathers his family and he goes south. Now, just before he goes into Egypt, he realizes the commitment that he has made to God, and he gets down off of his horse and he talks to Sarah. And so I'm going to paraphrase so I can keep it moving. He tells Sarah, say, hey, baby, look here, you sure it's fine. And when the princes and the soldiers of Pharaoh see you, they're going to take you because you're so fine, and they're going to kill me. So that it might be well with me, which means, roughly interpreted, so that I might prosper. Tell them that I'm your dim-witted brother. And so this is what she does. And the soldiers, in turn, don't kill him because it's always been a sin to kill crazy folks. So they take him and Sarah, who is really his woman, his wife, to Pharaoh. Pharaoh sees her, and he thinks to himself, Sarah's ooey fine. He grabs her, runs her up in the harem. Okay, now, because Pharaoh, in the ancient Egyptian historical context, is the essentially Pharaoh's God on earth in the ancient historical context. So he wants to be a just God. So he gives Abraham gold, silver, some servants, a little house out back of the palace so he could see his supposed sister from time to time. Here's the thing. According to Webster, any exchange of sex for economic gratuity is prostitution. So what does this mean? This means that Pharaoh becomes the first documented trick in Judeo-Christian or Islamic history. It also means that Sarah becomes the first documented whore in Judeo-Christian or Islamic history. This statement or this reality also confirms the fact that Abraham, the patriarch of Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, became the first documented pimp in Judeo-Christian and Islamic faiths, or all Abrahamic faiths. Abraham is the patriarch of the game. So if Abraham is the patriarch of the game, how could Abraham was walking with God Almighty? How could the game be wrong? God knows the beginning, the middle, and the ending of the story, and it is God who sent Abraham into Egypt.
That's why when you're a God amongst men, you know, it said ye of little gods, right? You're the lowercase God. You're more than a man, but you're less than the actual God. That means you can only do what you see the Father do in the heavens, in the heaved up place. The heavens, the heaved up place, the higher part of your mind, the higher self, is where the ism is.
God cannot be mad at pimps and hoes. Scripture goes on to say that when Abraham left the land of Egypt, he was one of the wealthiest men in Egypt, wealthy short of Pharaoh. And it also says that at that point in time, he continued on into Abimelech. Okay, now argument exists whether or not Pharaoh ever sexually touched Sarah, or whether or not Abimelech touched Sarah. Either or is not really important in the grand scheme of things, as the word says this: so a man thinketh, so is he. So regardless of whether or not he touched or either one of them touched Sarah, they both thought about it. So I want to speak to you about mesmerization. I spoke early in regards to Jesus being able to walk on water, raising the dead, putting eyeballs in empty sockets, feeding 7,000 people out of a couple of fish and a few loaves of bread. Mesmerization is the ticket. Jesus was able to do this because he believed. Okay, so we're going to go to basic belief 101. There's a young P who wakes up this morning, and he's been going through it. Can't get nothing, ain't kill nothing, won't nothing die. He wakes up this morning, thinks about his shortcomings, and he speaks to the universe. I don't know what I've done, Father, wrong, but for whatever the reasons, I just can't progress. I'm putting it in your hands, Lord, and I'm asking you to grant me what it is that I desire. It's really that simple. It's really that cut. It is really just that dry. But in order to receive, you can't just say it. You got to believe. A little belief, a little power, a lot of belief, a lot of power.
I'm going to expound on that in a little bit on the law of ism. You know, you can't. It's an unmutable law, right? You can't break the law. You can only break yourself from it. And I'm going to break down the law of ism, the law of influence. Just hold tight.
No belief, no power.
I want you to get this verse.
The young man speaks it for the first time into the universe. And the universe responded. Now, during the same period of time, on the other side of town, a young Caucasian girl wakes up. Her father is the executive vice president for John and Walker Red Corporation, hypothetical situation. She's on her way to school this morning to test for calculus, trigonometry, statistics. And this is all that's on her mind. It's, the day before the last day of school. She gets up, takes a shower, has breakfast, and leaves the house, goes to the bus stop. So as she's catches the bus and she's headed towards school, this young brother's coming back in the other direction on another bus coming in the other direction. And they meet at the transfer point. They engage in conversation. After they engage in conversation, it turns into something else. And as opposed to going to school, she goes back to the young brother's house. They talk, they make love. And before the sun goes down, she has had sex with several men. She sold some head, some behind, and some straight sex, and then given her money to this strange man. How did this happen? This is the upper middle class girl, Caucasian, didn't know any Negroes, really didn't know no pimps, but she met this man and became mesmerized. This man did the same.
Mesmerized by the metaphysical. Mesmerized by the magie. Mesmerized by the anointing. Mesmerized by the charisma. Mesmerized by the charm, the enchantment. Mesmerized by the conversation. Mesmerized by the posture. Mesmerized by the position of strength. Mesmerized by the mind. Mesmerized by the questions, or the correction here. Mesmerized by the embedded command in the form of a question. Mesmerized by the peace he brings. Piece of mind, a piece of that, a piece of this. Mesmerized just by his demeanor. Mesmerized by his style. Mesmerized by how he dresses. Mesmerized by the fragrance that he has on. Mesmerized by many things,
Thing that Jesus did when
et cetera,
he
et cetera.
fed the 7,000, except this man was, in point of fact, feeding himself. It all hinges on belief. The greater your belief, the greater your power. No belief, no power. Ism is about mesmerization, and it cannot be contextualized by society at large. It cannot be contextualized by the political, social, economic, religious, or spiritualist powers that be. It would never make sense to them because it is part of the metaphysical. Now, society at large, they may be able to emulate lifestyles, emulate music, emulate dressing styles, emulate many things.
That's a good piece right there. And speaking on emulation, right? Speaking on emulation, if we just really look at like from that standpoint of emulation, didn't Abraham emulate Adam? Not Atom, but Adam. You know, he definitely emulated Adam in the garden. Where he sold his wisdom short, not just his wife, his wisdom. Wisdom, ism, mother wisdom. You got to deal with that hate. Just like they got to deal with their confusion and they hate. That story still plays out to this day. The Abraham lying to the king, about Sarah to save his own, save his own body. But he would have lost his body. He'd have lost his wisdom. He'd have lost his wife. It's not really about titles. It's really about the connection. The further you understand that, we talk about, God amongst men and the ism concerns. Hopefully I just answered your question or your questions after that. Believing is definitely powerful. Believing is wonderful. That's what makes it powerful. Makes things, run rather smooth. Because life ain't rosy, but you can smooth out the rough edges and create your own path. But I'm pause on this. I'm gonna go back to this, and then I'm gonna break down this a little bit, more.
But you cannot emulate the spirit because ism is a spirit. It is not on you, it is in you. And no matter
Yeah, I got knocked out of my own little situation. It's all good. You know, as I said before, things are never rosy, but you just gotta learn how to smooth out the edges. That's what a guy amongst men, is capable of doing. Smoothing out the edges. You know, build and destroy. You create the order and the confusion. APTV. What up, though? Indeed, piece of the chat. Piece of those that's listening. In the clouds or whatever. I don't mind it. But, the key is to listen. The key is to listen, not just hear. You can't, listen to me like you hear everybody else.
Because it is part of the metaphysical. Now, society at large, they may be able to emulate lifestyles, emulate music, emulate dressing styles, emulate many things, but you cannot emulate the spirit, because ism is a spirit. It is not on you, it is in you. And no matter what you read, how many videos you look at, if it's not already there, it'll never happen, because it wasn't intended for you. America is raising tricks and prostitutes. Some might ask.
I like that thing that the brother opposed about Abraham lied about Sarah. Lied to the king. Like, look at every form of captivity. That's what what man has been doing. Really think about it.
Well, what does this guy say? So I'll break it down and clarify it. Most little boys pattern themselves after their father. Most little girls pattern themselves after their mother. Now, this is what happens. A father, he'll get up and he goes to work religiously. On payday, he gets paid Friday, he comes home. Mom makes him a big dinner. And mom and dad retire to the boudoir or the bedroom, where mom rewards dad with a shot of that stanky wanky. Now, had dad not had a paycheck, there would have been no big steak dinner, a chicken dinner, or whatever the case might have been. And dad would have been sleeping on the couch and not in the bed if mom didn't decide to make dad homeless. Okay. So on the flip side of the same coin, little girls, they watch their mother, and it's payday for dad. She watches her mother prepare the dinner. She sees the mom and the dad retire to the boudoir and they do what it is that they do. So the little girl comes to realize, and her mom is totally telling her, you find you a man that works hard, keep your legs closed and your dress down. When you find a man who works hard and who's willing to give you the money, only then do you open up your legs and raise up your dress. Okay, so what is mom really telling?
There is no right. This is like simple ABC type.
Mom is getting her ready to be a whore. If a man don't have no money, he can't have no sex. And the son, if you don't have no money, you ain't gonna get no sex.
Tricking.
America is raising tricks and whores. And what a prince of the game is is simply someone who does not choose to be a trick and does not want to participate in the paradigm that society has set forth as the norm. A prince of the game refuses to buy into that sexuality. A prince of the game is more looks at it from this perspective. I see that woman getting all these gifts and blandishments. She's getting mink coats, cars. She's getting diamond rings. A prince of the game is simply a guy saying, I like mink coats. I like diamond rings and cars. So why should she get them? And that's all it is. It's an exchange of psychologies. Building.
Psychology, macology. You know, it's a little bit more than a philosophy. You know, becomes psychology when it's, it's an action, a verb.
A pimpdom is like building a house. A prince of the game must first find an effective cornerstone. The whole of his enterprise, business enterprise, of his pimpdom hinges on the security of the cornerstone. Well, some might ask, what is a cornerstone?
Your first woman to forge your mind.
It is a bottom woman. While you may have a multitude of whores coming into your life and going out of your life.
First whore is actually your mind. Just look how you hoard yourself away to other people's opinions. Other people's, observations.
Whores come through the front door in search of the back door. They do not come to stay. They come to pay and they come to play. In your entire lifetime, if you were able to pee for 20 years, you may get 3, possibly 5 to 5 hookers, stand-up hookers, cornerstone bras. You know what I'm saying? You might have 1,000 women, but only 3 to 5 of those would be cornerstone material. You cannot build a pimpdom or a princedom on fly-by-night whores. So knowing that society at large is raising tricks and hoes, and knowing that you're doing all that you can to keep your family separated from this lifestyle. But unbeknownst to you, up until the time that you actually saw this video, you never put it together that America was raising tricks and hoes. And they have placed you and your family in jeopardy because this is the social ideology. You work hard, you get some money, you give the money to a girl, and she's nice to you. Or, from a female perspective, when you find a guy who has some money and he takes you out, buys you dresses, diamonds, whatever, you know what I'm saying? That's the guy that you're nice to. In my mind, in my mind's eye, any exchange of sex for economic gratuity, according to Webster, is prostitution. So when you come face to face with who you are,
it's basically saying essentially America's creating cultivated tricks and prostitutes, one way or another. You know, that's at all levels.
as a person, an individual within this society, how do you handle that? Again, a prince of the game is simply somebody who chooses not to play that particular game, who has reversed the game on psychology and said, I want the cash. I want the diamonds. I want the furs. I want the house on the hill. Ism.
Going to a little brief intermission. You know, that's just something I actually came across, and I just like how it correlated with, you know, I said a mass majority of my messages, you know, outside of the BS. You know, the BS is part of everything, though. You know, while it's a part of everything, you basically just need to know, you know, the law of the truth. You know, the law. You know, law of influence, the faculty of the mind. It holds, you know, and compresses every thought and, you know, every act, you know, that you've done and plan to do, you know, you know, in its own era, you know, its own selfish agenda, you know. But as I said before, you can't necessarily break yourself. You can't break the law. You can only break yourself from the law. That's what I was talking about, the law of influence. You know, the university of the mind. My mind is a university. You know, the university of me. That's such what the law of influence. You influence the environment. You know, the environment doesn't influence you. You know, because the law is, you know, a mathematical faculty. And, you know, certain things don't really add up, aren't really, you know, put together right. You know, the math ain't mathing. The reason why the math ain't mathing is because, you know, it doesn't know what to put, you know, first. You know, certain things need to be put first. That's what the law of influence is. Ism. You know, it's the law of your mind. It's just as, you know, exact and, you know, undeviating as the law of those mathematics, supreme mathematics. You know, that's math you don't forget. You know, and that's how you can add up. was right, true, and exact. See, you don't make the law. The law just is. And it was established, for your benefit, before everything was even formed. Just like the darkness in your mind, right? Is in let there be light, that type of scenario. That's the back of the judge, with the gavel. Essentially what the law is to bring balance to the chaos. As a God amongst men, you're the balance within the chaos and confusion. Even if you participate in it. I do things for my own reasons. So that just marinate for a moment. See, when you understand the law of influence is the development of who you are, under that law, as the creative mind. It's not only the law, but it's also governed by that action of that law. And that it all sets things up in place. The law is all providing. Just like God is all providing law. See, what he was talking about with the spirituality, what he was really conveying to you is the substance in that spirituality, the university of self, university of your mind, it was just moving pieces on the board. I was actually just projecting my thoughts. Is because God is mine. It's like man is God. Once he understands what's going on in his own mind, you see the undercurrents, the offspring of God in your mind, to know that law of God. You have to adjust, into that mind, into that God mind. The first step, with, implementing the law, is the total recognition of this truth. As full capacity, weight, proper measurement. What's that song by Dre? I've been there, done that. A million, mofos, on this planet Earth talking all BS because that's all they're worth, While you're talking shit, just make sure you're handling business. That's it. Seeing is believing, right? Gotta be the type to do it and say it and do it. If you're good at both, it's like you can chew bubblegum and walk at the same time. It's like you just walk on water. It's even heavenly for me in the pits of hell. And the pits of hell is this planet. Where wrong is right and right is wrong. people celebrate their own confusion. I give you an example. The guy that, perpetrates an image because, attention is currency. His steps weren't like everybody else's steps. His went A, B, C, D. His moves A, B, C, D was already made for him. Even when he was messing up, guess what? You know how to spot a lick. Just like John knew how to spot a lick. I mean, a business. In the business of image. Even though, some of us know the truth. He knows the truth. But, he ignored the signs because it was about the facade, I said before, you're going to be a god or a facade. So, prefer to just have the sizzle instead of the substance, There's no spirituality, there's no ism, there's no mother wisdom, Somewhere along the line, he's been cool detached. He presents it like he went through, A, G, and got knocked back to A, then got knocked back to B, C. No. He always had a safety net. You seen that Jonah had a big house. He did construction. So he was good with his hands. So he presented that idea. Stranger things in that story, because, she was a tiger, like tiger woods, y'all. You gotta keep that on a strong leash, Get me? She got that water. Sometimes you can look in a woman's eyes, you can see she got that water. You need to stay away from that. Sometimes that water can be a bit murky, Looks like they're doing well. Looks like they kind of get to $1, man. But people look at the picture that they show you, but they don't really tell you what goes into making that picture. The forgiveness, the lies, the extras. It's an interesting economy that we partake in, right? Just like, the late great Jimmy Star broke down, essentially you're a consumer. You're a consumer. You're not an owner. There's a difference between an owner and a consumer. One's buying the dream. The other one's making the dream come true. Ism. Pause my breath, man. Get out the breath of life right now. But that's the substance. That's the substance of the ism. That's the abundance of the ism. It's the offspring of it. Unless you know as the source of all that supply, you know, you will only look to the material world for support. You see the facade, again, right back to what the story that I told you, it was about the look, material support that shows that you're weak. You know, there's between having things and things having you, having money and the money having you, or not having money, you know, and that's having you. You can't be a God amongst men. You know, if you're doing that, it means it's not in you. It's on you for the support, you know, but it's not in you for the endurance. It's more than just maneuvers, man. You know, as I said before, there's levels to this, and there's also angles. You just gotta know when to make your maneuver, you know. You know, one of the things you learn, you know, conversations between, you know, men, you know. I said before about, you know, being a game versus, you know, playing games. People play games, but people run game, you know. It's kind of like part of their material as well. The material, they go to that for support. They just got it on them. They ain't got it in them, you know. Remember, as I said before, man, the God amongst men is built on principle. You know, not emotions. You can see things as an entirely, you know. You gotta see it from all angles before you draw a conclusion, you know. That's part of exercising patience, you know. What makes you different, you know. See, people try to, you know, get into the whole support thing, you know, to try to stand out instead of just being set apart. You know, the ism sets you apart. You know, it comes as a sword, you know, to divide. Divide and conquer. You know. You know, what's your moral compass? You know, everybody has a moral compass. What is it based on? Is it based on their ambition? Is it based on their guilt? Is it based on their doubt? Is it based on their shame that they try to cover it up with material support? You know, spirit of the man, right? The spirit of the game. Make sure you check that out. I dropped that, you know, a couple years back. Spirit of the game. You know, spirit and the truth. Also check that out. You know. You know, I am a university, you know. Every time I talk, it's pretty much I'm writing a book, you know, live. Just freestyling that shit. You know. The ism. Say the spirit word. What up, though? It's the year 23, Jordan year. Time to win out here. Exactly. Let's keep that up there, man. You know. I like that. You know, I'm a win in peace. You know, that's the tip I'm on. You know, again, going back to that whole material support. You know, what the young man was doing. You know, it was a long time ago, right? I'm gonna let this connect with this story. This is like years ago. This is before the G-Shock watches, you know, before they really even like had a little pop. It was those and the Nixon watches. You know, I actually gave a Nixon watch away for a parting gift. You know, wasn't much. It's a parting gift. Like just go away. You know, no hard feelings, no bad feelings. I want to see you win. You know, just not with me. You know, I want to see you eat, just not with me. You know. You know, it's part of you know, that ism is not having a bad mind. You know, the truth sometimes is cruel. You know, but it's honest. It's honest in a dishonest world, right? People look for material support because they don't have it in them. You know, it's one thing to have materials, right? And to have material support, like the physical, right? It's one thing to have it. It's another thing, you know, for it to have you. You know, to the point that whereas though you pretty much lose your life force, your life energy, your meaning. You know, you don't put your trust in anything that can easily be taken from you. You know, that's the difference. I don't put my trust in anything that can be taken from me easily. You know, life does have a habit of getting in the way. You know, people have a habit of getting in my way. Let that marinate on the grill for a little bit. You know, I don't like colliding with anybody, but at the same time, I don't like anybody playing with me. You know, go play with your kids. Leave me the fuck alone. It is, you know, put myself in a position of strength, as you should. You know, the carry got to be smoother than Barry, right? You know, Carrie Sanders. There's, you know, some people who was trying to, you know, this is before you get people trying to emulate you and mock you, you know. And it's beautiful because, you know, they emulate you in a way of trying to mock you, you know. They know who's greater, you know. We all know the truth, you know. Not amongst men, you know. As a man that's principle, you know. It's always principle above emotions, you know. You know, how can you be therapeutic when you need therapy? You know, the difference between, you know, the ism and someone perpetrating the ism is anxiety. You know, you can't heal yours. You don't know how to heal yours, and you know, how can you help others? How can you love yours and you don't love yourself? Pose a question: would you rather understand yourself, or would you rather love yourself? But you couldn't have both. That's a question I don't think has ever been asked. Would you rather have understanding of yourself, or would you rather love yourself? You know, that's rhetorical. You see how captivating the ism is? You know, that's what I see. As you look at the pyramids, basically, it's a graduation. You know, at each level, there was a pharaoh to teach you. There were steps. That means you have to build. You have to be a wise builder and know the foundation that you're building it on. You know, that's what a wise builder is, knowing what he's building his foundation on. You know, sometimes you gotta play the fool to catch a fool. You know, again, the clouds watching my moves, right? Then the clouds watching my moves. You know, but let them tell it. You know, all press is good press, babe. You know, y'all pressed. You know, that's what the ism is getting you stuck on the realness. Perfect blend, you know. Definitely a perfect blend. You know, how could you hate me and listen to me at the same time? You can't hate me. You know, for me, there's no hate watching. You know, I don't believe in hate watching for me. You know, and there's nothing, you know, there's no opposite, you know, theory to that. That's what keeps me out of the blunder, you know. Ism. You know, the ism is manifested in many ways. It's multifaceted. You know, this is actually what I'm going to Patreon. Just going to give you the heads up. You know, but it's multifaceted. As before, as the Majid spoke on the metaphysics. You know, just spoke on, you know, baby, just ice. You know, just saying the same thing to you in a different way. Welcome to my university. my school of thought. Now you see, like within I've been here about 3 years, been popping it. Then I come across this piece that pretty much correlates with everything that I basically said. I just wanted y'all to, bask in a moment with me. Because we all know the truth at this point. Mackin is gorgeous. Are you the reason why, anybody would smile? That's rhetorical. This lets you know who you are at the end of the day. Are you the reason why anybody smiles when they see you? That's the difference. Are you the reason why anybody smiles? That right there is the indicator of your attitude. And, directly reflected upon your inactivity. People don't really see the difference between your ass and your mouth, because it all sounds like shit. BS. Excuse my French. Ooh la wee wee. That good stuff. Bonbons. I'm just playing with y'all, man. But at the same time, I'm not. It is a God amongst men. Has composure. Some people have felt the wrath, but before the wrath, there was composure. There was still composure. Yet and still composure. Controlled wrath. Choices, chances, and consequences. Choices, chances, and consequences. That's all you really have. When you think about it, the chances you take, you gotta accept the consequences. The choices you make, you gotta accept the consequences. Is it in you, or is it just on you for material support? Remember that theory I gave you about the bottle of water? Depending upon its placement, its value will increase or decrease. You guys, before you see the world, you got to see the world. Before you see the world, you got to see yourself. Then go see the world. so you don't get played goofy. You know? The difference between the ism and the perpetration of the ism is being played. You know, you can hear it. You know, you can even get the energy from it. Well, you can feel the energy from it. You don't necessarily get it. It doesn't affect you, but it's like you listen to it. It's like, wow. I hear the undercurrents of vitriol, you know. This is just in a matter of just speaking of both confusion, you know. Men and women, right? You try to get the most for doing absolutely nothing or little to nothing, you know. From their teeny bopper years up until about, hopefully they, you know, gain some balance by the 40s, I would say. You know, people have just been takers, essentially. Takers and binders. And they end up with crumbs. Because you've been taking your whole life. Either passively or overtly, you've been taking and binding up, you know. You've been stealing shit, right? And binding it up. Stealing, not sharing, right? You got nothing but crumbs in your hand. Just little crumbs. You know, there's many ways you play yourself. People don't play you, you play yourself. You know. That's why you look for material support. You know, first things first, right? Seeing is believing. You know. Believing is seeing. Which one? Which one do you choose? Which one do you see? This shit is smoother than a Jaguar, you know. You know. Just maneuvering through lanes, you know. Anyways, man, y'all be well.